White Star game. In the last session, our heroes were fighting off some cyborg invaders in the space graveyard at 364 Sagan. They managed to fight them off with some loss of life to their various affiliated NPCs, and they also lost the salvaged gunship due to the 3 cyborg ships apparently transporting their cyborg warriors on board. The cyborgs began hacking into both of the ships that they infiltrated. However, on the Defiant, thanks to the efforts of the pilot, Tylo Dolph, who had sort of like erected firewalls and done a lot of ad hoc technical wizardry to keep them out, she was able to sort of jury rig the ship to like keep it going long enough to basically get them out of the way. At which point, speaking of the way, our resident Star Knight Tangiza was able to use the way to contact the intelligence on one of these cloaked weapon platforms. The weapon platform, as soon as it sort of unveiled itself, came under attack by the cyborg ships, and in response to the ridiculous amounts of damage it took and to prevent its technology falling into their hands, it self-destructed, giving the Defiant just enough time to get to it. It was only on the very outskirts of the blast radius. The cyborg ships were not so lucky, and as they left the sector planning to return to the Asgardi system and sell some of the cyborg parts they'd salvaged to the crime boss Corpacora, they saw a small sort of ramshackle vessel trailing plasma and debris heading towards the crippled cyborg star cruisers. And that is where we're going to pick up this time. So you guys have travelled back to Asgardi. It's much as you remember it. It's this hugely sort of tectonically active planet. There's vast mountain ranges covering much of the surface, and you can see as you're sort of coming through the atmosphere and on your scanners the numerous sort of mining cities that are dotted around these tall sort of spire-like hive cities, where there's the sort of like your space landing pads up near the top, and all the rich people live up near the top, and down below the bottom, as though the cities themselves were like biting into the mountainous landscape, are these huge laser-powered furnaces that continuously churn through the rocks, following the veins of precious metal and other such things that striate through this planet. You have no real trouble landing. You've been here before. You head back to one of these tall spire cities. You land. It's a fairly simple matter. You know Corpacora was here last time, and it doesn't take you very long to set up a meeting. We find you sat in one of the many sort of like cantinas that are dotted throughout this huge spire city. The lights are low. There's music playing in the background. We eventually, as you guys have sat down, you've ordered a few drinks, you made yourself comfortable. The sliding door like opens, and you see the reptilian form of Corpacora enter. She's flanked on either side by 2 lizard-like Clason mercenaries, these brutish reptilian humanoid with this dark blue to purple scaled skin. She looks around for a few moments, spots you, and walks over to the table that you're sat at, accompanied by the stomping of her Clason mercenaries. She sits down, takes out a death stick in a long holder, and starts to chuff away at that. After a few moments, when the more sort of raucous music dies down, the Cathis crime boss leans forward, tenting her hands together, and says, "I take it you have something to tell me then, or I hope something to sell me?"
Yes, we do. Your man Toga unfortunately didn't make it, but we have acquired a number of cybernetic pieces that are very, very valuable. and we were going to give you half to thank you for your outfitting of us. Um,
She looks at you, takes a long drag on her death stick. Exhales a cloud of sort of purplish vapour, and then sort of waves a hand and says, "Well, casualties are to be expected. After all, Sagan is a dangerous system after all. But I take it you've at least managed to return my vessel."
yes, your vessel has been returned.
"Splendid. I have no shortage of hired help," and she indicates the clays on either side. "But vessels can be expensive to procure. But tell me more about these parts you wish to sell me."
Um, so I, um, oh, they are a very strange combination of cybernetics. They were nearly fully cybernetic, these creatures. Um, they attacked our ships, and we slew a number of them. Um, they seemed to be connected to a central entity that controlled them. Very strange. Lots of studying to be done on them. We only recently come across them, so we do hope to do some studying on them ourselves. But yeah, so they were a truly cybernetic race.
Indeed, most interesting. So, what say we travel to your vessel and I examine the goods, so to speak. I'm sure you wouldn't wish me to part with any credits without at least looking at the goods in
No, absolutely
question.
not. We are. We can go now if you would like, or you can meet us there at a time that is convenient to you.
Now is fine. At which point
Excellent.
she takes out like a small compad, presses a code on it, speaks into it and says, "Oh, sorry, what docking bay was it you're at again? Just pick a number."
14.
He says, "Yes, please, I have an evaluation for you. Please meet us in docking bay 14 immediately." Presses the end call button, puts the compad away, and you all make your way down to where the Defiant is docked in docking bay 14. You open up the ship. By now you've crated up like the parts that you're planning to sell to Corpcore, and as you head down there, you're met by a small, looks human, but is bald and appears to have like a large part of its skull replaced by some sort of gleaming metal cybernetic implant. Is holding a large data pad. Corpcore says, "This is my evaluator who will assess the worth of what you have procured for me." You all head on board. Corpora looks over the crates, looks barely interested in what's in the crates, just sort of glances them over. However, you can see the evaluator, their eyes are sort of moving backwards and forwards quickly, and their hands like very quickly sort of like typing things on this compad, like adding up the various parts and sort of calculating the worth. After the work of only a few minutes, the evaluator offers the compad out to Corpacora, who takes it, looks at it, puts a thumb on it, hands it back to the evaluator, who offers it out to you since you've been doing most of the talking, Balan, and says, and you can see at the bottom is basically like the total, effectively, and it says 250,000 credits. Corpacora says, "Would that be acceptable?"
Uh, yes, I think so. If you're happy with that, we are very happy with that.
very good. She gestures to the two Claison mercenaries who basically start like grabbing the crates and like lugging them off your ship. She obviously like effectively gets like your sort of like, your bank details to like an instantaneous transfer of the credits, and you check in your bank account and you see that you've been basically get debited like 250,000 credits.
Okay. Before you go, might we purchase this smaller vessel from you?
The bounty.
Yes.
Well, in light of the interesting find you brought me, I could let you have it for 15,000 credits.
Yes, we would be more than happy to pay that.
And you arrange for the transfer of the credits. Corpacora basically, again with a data pad, gets your sort of like your details and arranges an electronic transfer of the deeds to the ship to you, making you now the legal owners of the bounty. At which point Corpacora sort of nods again, sort of takes out another death stick and starts puffing away and says, "Is there anything else that you have to sell me, or anything else you wish to ask?"
No, not at the moment. But I think this was a deal that benefited everyone, and I hope that we can come to future deals in time.
Indeed, I am well pleased, and I would certainly be open to cooperative ventures again in the future. I should warn you, however, at this point she looks over towards, like, obviously Tylo said that she wasn't getting involved in this, so Tylo's like back on the ship. She sort of leans into you, Balan, and obviously you're near Tan, so you can hear this, and she says, "I should warn you, in the spirit of our mutual benefits, I should warn you, however, that I've heard, these are only rumours, but I've heard that there is another one of the Caphis cartels, the organisations of my kind, that is seeking your very talented pilot. Now, if you're going to be a potential investment of mine, I feel it worthwhile warning you of this. I am, after all, not all of the Caphis are as pleasant and as willing to deal with outsiders as I am. I do not know any of the details, but I have heard there is apparently a member of my kind who is extremely keen to, and she actually makes the air quotes gesture, to recover your pilot. I trust this will not be a problem to any future business arrangements we may have.
You're muted.
Sorry, I'm unfamiliar with the relationship between these cartels. Certainly, this person will not have our pilot.
In which case, at this point, Balan and Tan, you can both make me an intelligence roll, or you can use wisdom if you prefer. And this is just like a general background thing to see what you know about the Caphis as a species. Okay. Okay.
Sorry, it's not. I'm not seeing it rolling. Hang on.
It is rolling, but it doesn't seem to be coming up on the.
Let me just try again.
Yeah, go for it. We're in no rush.
Okay, so that is a success.
Okay, so you both know that effectively the Caphis are divided into a number of like basically crime families. Some they all sort of have like their own sort of deal, their own like thing that they're into. You know that Corpacora is obviously sort of head of the Cora family, and is into like recovering tech and sort of wheeler dealing and smuggling and stuff like that. But there's crime families who sort of specialise in like wet work, black ops, stuff like that, leg breaking, stuff like that. And they are very much sort of like, they were originally like a lot of these families amongst the Kefis sort of like warred on each other, but as they became more civilized, they basically sort of reached like a detente almost, where they agreed to sort of like stay in their own areas of business. So like if Corpacora wants someone like killing, she won't do it herself. She'll go to like the Kefis crime family who specialises in like maiming and murdering people and get them to do it. And likewise, if that family wants some like tech or some smuggling, they'll come to the Cora family to do it. And by sort of respecting each other's areas of like influence, they maintain this sort of like fragile peace, you know, basically don't mess with our thing and we won't mess with your thing. But aside from that, they're not particularly close as a sort of species, but they're sort of like they have like a wary non-aggression pact with each other.
Okay.
At which point Corpacora says, if you are unaware of what is going on, you may wish to talk to your pilot about this. But anyway, I will, at which point she leans forward and again she shows you this data pad and it's got like a comm frequency on it and says, this is a line on which you may reach my people if you are in this area again and you are looking for work. I believe that this mission could be the start of a very profitable endeavour for both of us.
Indeed.
But for now, I will leave you to your business.
And thank you for your warning.
She nods and then sort of goes like, at which point the two Claison mercenaries who've like loaded the crates full of cybernetic parts that you were selling them onto like the little hover trucks, they sort of wheel them out. The evaluator tucks his pad under his arm and you can see like a few like sort of flashing lights on the cranium replacement he's got, and he follows away and you see this strange party sort of walking out of the docking bay that you're in. You see the doors like open, then shut, and you see the big 14 like emblazoned on the back of it, and they disappear from view, leaving you all alone to discuss or do what you will.
Okay. So do we think Tyler would like to discuss her past, or do we think that it's kind of off limits?
What would you have said about that, Tylo? Would you have been like discussing your past, or would you be strictly like, no, let's not discuss it? Because obviously you've been travelling together for a bit, so they'd have picked up a general vibe about how open you were to discussing your past.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
There you go.
Okay. So as we come back onto the ship and we have all this money and we're all feeling really good about ourselves. Sorry, Joe, we sold half the goods, did we, for that money?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Jesus. Okay. So I guess Balan will kind of hover around awkwardly for a few minutes, kind of looking at Tylo, before kind of working up the courage to kind of approach and say, I spoke to Corporate Cora, and she seems to believe that one of these cartels is looking for you, and if she knows that you're here, then it's only a matter of time before someone else finds out. Is there anything we can do to help you in this situation?
I doubt it. They're a bit one-minded in that direction.
Okay. And at this point, because obviously we've sort of fairly loosely defined this using the background. Let's just have a little bit of a chat about this. So we know from your background that you were originally sort of sold into slavery when you were young. We know that you've got a mysterious corporate benefactor, and that during your time in slavery, your your leg was replaced by like a cybernetic replacement, and you managed to escape. And we've sort of elaborated on the fact that it's one of these other sort of Cathis crime families that are sort of after you. So presumably you escaped them from your like enslavement. And as we've just discussed, each of the Cathis crime families has like their own area of like crime that they specialise in. So what sort of area of crime did and there's no wrong answer to this, what sort of crime did the Cathis crime family that enslaved Tylo specialise in?
I would say they probably specialise in acquiring large sums of money.
Okay. Okay. And would you like to give them a name? If not, I can randomly come up with a name, that's fine.
Also, the Cathis is the one we've been working with.
Cathis is the name of the species. The family you've been working with is the Cora family, hence Corpora Cora.
I've got no idea.
Well, that's all right. Let me just go to my random name generator, and we will see what we get. Okay, so the Cathis crime family that are pursuing you are the Gorga family, Gorga. And as you said, they specialise in acquiring lots of money. So I'm sort of assuming that extends to covering things like blackmail and stuff like that.
Yeah, blackmail, robbery.
Yeah, robbery, sort of like financial sort of dealings, like money laundering and that sort of stuff. Okay, so when you were sort of enslaved by them, obviously you were enslaved when you were very young. What were your sort of duties as a slave? I mean, is that how you learned to pilot? Were you used as a pilot?
I was generally used as a decoy.
Okay.
As expendable, so we could.
Okay. And when you escaped, how did you actually escape from them?
I escaped on a large freighter. Tucked away probably in the engine areas where no one's really looking, so behind the panels rather than in the main corridor.
Okay, lovely. Now, obviously we know you've got a mysterious corporate benefactor. Did that corporate benefactor play any part in your escape?
They arranged the transport.
Okay. And why does this like corporation have an interest in you? And very generally, what sort of corporation is that?
They got an interest in me because I am a very good pilot. I've proven that by acting as a decoy and surviving. And they wanted to use me in a future hit on the same crime family to acquire some goods that they lost.
So like a revenge hit.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this revenge hit, has that already taken place? Or is your mysterious corporate benefactor, are they sort of still waiting for you to do that at some point? Or are they going to was it like a sort of we'll be in touch?
Is that we'll be in touch.
Okay. No problems. And I'm going to again come up with a name for your corporate benefactor.
Scorpio.
Yeah, we can go with that. Let's go with the Scorpio Foundation. And what does the Scorpio Foundation do? Obviously they're a corporation.
They specialise in cyber enhancements, replacements.
Nice.
For barren terrains, so you're able to survive better in a barren terrain.
Excellent. So, so over the course of... I presume you said you're open about your background. There's, like, none of that you'll be keeping particularly secret from, like, the other characters.
No.
So, so over the course of probably maybe an hour or so, you're in a conversation backwards and forwards. Tan and Bilal, you hear this story of how Tyler was originally, when very young, was captured by the Gorga family, this Kafis crime family who specialise in robbery, money laundering, all manner of like financial dealings, and was basically used as a sort of expendable dog's body and a decoy. However, after a while, this corporation known as the Scorpio Foundation sort of realised that Tyler had these like massive piloting skills because she'd survived for so long in this decoy role, whereas most of the people they use as like expendable decoys lasted 1, maybe 2 missions, and that was it. They got killed. So they managed to extract Tylo by arranging this freighter that she was able to hide away on, with the sort of promise that they'd obviously suffered some sort of losses at the hands of the Gorga family, and they wanted Tylo to use her sort of insider knowledge to help them get back at them. So they basically extracted her, and then they were like, we'll be in touch when like it needs to go down. And presumably they were the ones who were responsible for like giving you the cybernetic enhancement of your leg.
It was the eyes.
Oh, eyes, was it?
Yeah.
All right, it says leg. It says leg.
The eyes allow me to... Yeah, we did change it to eyes.
That's all right. It's my memory being rubbish.
But the eyes allow me to see in low light, so I can fly on dark worlds.
Okay, let me just update that. There we go. Yeah, so the Scorpio Foundation arranged for Tylo to be implanted with these cybernetic eyes to see in low light. They specialise in, when planets have been newly or partially terraformed, but people still need some sort of like adaptation to help them survive and thrive there. They specialise in cyber enhancements that allow people to do that. They extracted Tylo, and they were like, oh, when we've got all of our other pieces in place and we're ready to make a move against the Gorga, we'll be in touch. And that's the last you've heard of them since then, Tylo.
Yeah.
And obviously this comes out in a conversation, and the rest of you have heard about that. So if you want to like discuss that or ask any questions, obviously feel free.
Muted again.
I need to stop doing that. So what do you want to do?
What do I want to do?
Yeah. We have an awful lot of money now.
I was thinking we could maybe buy them off, but if we're looking at a scenario where we're going to be assisting this benefactor in the retaliation.
Yeah, but whatever you offer them to pay for me is never going to be enough.
And from what you all collectively know about the Corpacori, you know that obviously, sorry about the Kafis, they obviously love that money because all of their criminal dealings are with the aims of like getting Mo credits. However, they also have that bizarre sort of twisted sense of honor that sort of like earthly crime families have, where like that sort of vendetta style where like once you sort of cross them and you push them too far, it's then no longer a matter of money. You've basically like besmirched their sort of weird like twisted criminal sense of honor, and then it becomes like a matter of respect, because they know if they just let it slide, all the rest of the Kafis families will be like, oh, maybe you're not worthy of like keeping your monopoly on you a little bit, and they'll start moving in on them. So every Kafis family, if they're crossed, is like very keen to make an example of the person who has crossed them, because they know if they don't, the other Kafis families are going to start moving in on their stuff because they don't think they'll be able to hold it.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how long we can hide from them and whether we need to take the offensive.
I was just thinking that
It's almost like we're related.
At this point, can you all please roll me a d6?
See, we're rolling the same again.
That's it. Okay, so as this conversation's going on, you're sort of like just keeping an eye on the scanners and stuff like that, Tyler, when you hear very faintly what sounds like a bit of a commotion coming from like the other side of the docking bay door. You can hear like, I mean, obviously it's a very thick door, but you can hear like muffled raised voices and what sounds like something like the clanging of metal, maybe. Yeah, your two companions don't seem to have noticed him.
Guys, there's something going on out there.
Okay.
It's been a great chat and all, but it's quite loud, so you might want to have a quick look.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
Whatever it is.
Okay, so you head towards the airlock door. Obviously, opens automatically, and sort of just down the corridor, so like a bit away from where your docking bay door is, you can see Corpacora, the evaluator, the two Clays on pushing these two like hover carts, and you can see one of the Clays on. He has like a severed like cyborg arm has like grabbed him around the neck, and he's basically like wrestling it, like trying to pull it off his neck. And the other Clays on sort of like got like a laser pistol out, but he's like going like that because he can't like get a clean shot off. Corpacora is just like backed up against the wall, and it's very difficult to read expression on the Cath's face because of their sort of reptilian features. But he's just sort of standing back, as is the evaluator. Whereas this Clays on with this thing around his neck is like rolling sort of backwards and forwards and like trying to like bang it on a wall and like pull it off with his other hand. And you can just see this like gleaming silver hand and severed arm and like wires still hanging out the end of it, and maybe a bit of goo dripping out of it, sort of clinging onto his neck in almost like a death grip. And the clanging, obviously the raised voices of the Clays on, the clanging noise is him like continually like battering this like metal arm against like the walls of the corridor, like trying to pull it off or like batter it off his neck.
Do we have some tools that are strongly magnetic in the ship? Just like something to just like slap onto the arm and just pull it off.
Yeah, a lot of ships' tools would be magnetic because if you're in space, obviously the orientation of your ship can change. So a lot of tools will be magnetic. So like when you're not using them, you can just be like, dung, oh, it's on the bulkhead, right? And then when you need it, you just grab it and pull it off. So they probably wouldn't be strongly magnetic, but they would have like a magnetic component to them. Now, if you had someone who was maybe like capable of like souping up the magnetic field on them.
Tyler, quick, can you tune up this, I don't know, sonic inverter? I don't...
Got some copper wire, yeah.
Yeah, so this is like a minor task for you. I'm not even going to ask for a roll, Tyler, because you're used to like modifying starships. Like making a magnetic spanner a bit more magnetic is like nothing. You could do that in your sleep. So
it's just a bag of magnets. There's a bang.
You quickly sort of like run to like your like spare parts box, you know, like where you keep your engineering supplies and extra wires and stuff. You quickly sort of like you attach a couple of bits of metal to it, like wrap some copper wire around the handle. It's effectively jury rigged, so it's not going to last very long, but it'll do.
I'll give it a power supply as well.
Yeah, you attach an energy cell to it, like attach the wires to that, quickly wrap it around, and Tyler holds out towards you this magno spanner with these wires wrapped around it, like a power cell like glued to it. Like looks like it could fall apart any minute, but you know, Tyler, it should do the job at least for a while. I mean, we're talking like maybe like half a dozen rounds at most, and then it'll pretty much all your extra bits will drop off because you just like gaffer tape them on, but it'll do for a bit. And you're handed this.
But don't turn it on next to a metal wall.
we'll. Actually, that might be really handy. I'll just need that and the wall to be in close proximity. Then we can. Yeah, I'll see what we can do, and I'll get the Magno spanner and this is like jog to the merc who is just like
Okay, at this point, roll me a d6, please.
Okay.
Anything but 1, you fuck.
6.
Yeah, that's grand. So you get to him and he's still wrestling with this like mechanical arm. You jog up holding this souped up Magno spanner in your hand.
Yeah, so I think the when I approach, I withdraw the Magno spanner, or I bring it to view as if I'm drawing my.
As you draw it, the other like Claison like points his laser pistol at you, and he shouts something in like a guttural language which you don't understand, that you assume is like the Claison language. Mm-hmm. He's just like no. Like, pointing. Like, obviously, he thinks you're like pulling a weapon out because he has no idea what this is.
I'll hold up a hand to him, and in Galactic Gaelic, I'll just go like, "No, help!"
He sort of like lowers it. He's still holding his pistol, but he like lowers it a bit, and then gives you like the sort of like the up nod gesture with his scaly face.
And I'll toggle the impromptu switch with the energy pack, and
you flick this switch, and this thing like starts vibrating in your hands, and there's this like steadily like unsettlingly rising hum coming from it, and the bit where the energy cells like gaffer tape to it starts getting like very warm.
So I'll what's the guy with the arm doing right now? Is he standing?
He's still like trying to bang this thing on the wall to like get it to let go of it.
On the wall. Okay.
Yeah, you can see like the sort of like the bluish tint of his skin appears to have like deepened slightly. Maybe that's their equivalent of going like red faced because of lack of breath. You're not sure.
Yeah, he's turning anoxic. So I'll get his attention. It's like, hey, and I'll just sort of grab at him to turn my way.
Yeah, that's no problem. You turn it. He's concentrated entirely on like detaching this thing. So you spin him round. His eyes widen a bit in confusion, maybe when he sees you, but he's not really in a position to do anything against it.
Yeah. So I'm it's been a while since we've described the characters, but Tan is a little bit shorter than Balan, but he's way stockier sideways. So he's kind of built like a bulldozer. And so what happens is I'll grab at the non-business end of the arm, and I'll just smack the Magno spanner into the arm, like close to the wrist.
Yeah, straight away it's like and like magnetizes onto it.
Yeah, and then I'll get the best grip I can, and then I'll just like put my foot on his abdomen, and I'll just motion for him, just like I'm gonna pull this thing off.
It's still his face like getting darker in color as like the seconds pass. He just like nods.
Yeah, and then it's just like a. I'll just try and yank him off, yank the thing off.
And are you gonna like attach the thing to the wall or?
Yeah, that's my that's what I wanted the magnet for. Like if I can't pull it off, I'll actually turn him around and smack him into the wall and then pull him off.
Yep, you do that, and as the sort of the Claison sort of like muttering its thanks, sort of pulls away, its face returning to its normal sort of slate grey, sort of like panting for breath. You can see this like arm with like the Magna spanner on the other side of it attached to the wall, and it's basically going. You see the fingers twitching.
Yeah, and I imagine at this point everyone's sort of like, oh shit, because there's the from the
they're like the sort of whining noise of like the jury rigged like Magno spanners getting quite loud. And you notice like the sheer chaos that this has caused has drawn like a fair crowd, because a load of people are like, oh, there's some like mad like Claison like spiraling around the corridor, like smashing himself into walls. Like, what's going on here? So there's quite a big crowd of like, there's miners. You can see like a couple of like, there's almost like the civilian security guard, like not the heavily armored Dominion troops, but just basic like security troops are sort of stood around, and everyone looks a bit confused, and then they're all looking at this like still twitching like metal arm on the wall, and everyone's like, there's a bit of murmuring and a bit of nudge at each other. No one really seems to know what's going on. At which point Corpacora says to you, says, well, it appears again we have to thank you for your help.
Oh yeah, no problem. And I'll because it's going. spanner is still ticking away, and well, I've concluded it's probably gonna go off. So I'll sort of like, yeah, no worries. I'll get I don't know what's there, like a trash can or something. It's like I'll like lean against the wall. It's like, it's okay, just in case it blows up.
Yeah, no problems. As you're doing that, and you're sort of putting like the trash can over it, and you can hear it like ding 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 on the inside as it's like battering itself against the inside of this trash can. There's a furious exchange again in this primitive sort of like guttural Claison language, as the Claison you've just saved is like saying something in very like stern tones to Corpacora. She gives almost a sigh and responds back in the same language, but in a sort of slightly exasperated sort of tone. There's a bit of back and forth between them, and then finally in sort of like basic, Corpacora just looks at the Claison and says, fine. At which point she turns to you and says, again in an exasperated tone, according to my employee here, the fact that you have saved his life means that he is now in your debt. I have given him permission.
Oh, that's okay. I'm good.
I tried explaining this to him, but it's a cultural thing for them. It makes them very good bodyguards, but it can be tiresome. I've given him leave to go with you.
Okay, where are we going exactly? Are we taking him home? Like, what's the
way the Claison work is, this Claison will stay with you until the debt has been repaid.
Okay. I guess, sure. Fine. I guess if that's what it wants to do, we could use more hands, and there's work to be done. Of course, we're not going to rest on our laurels here by any means. And John, is the spanner actually going off? Or is it dying down?
It's still working at the minute, but due to the fact that this sort of like whining noise from it's getting louder, you think at a certain point like the power cell's going to short out. I mean, it's not a big enough power cell to be dangerous. It's going to short out, there'll be a few sparks, and then it'll just be back to being a normal spanner, probably the few scorch marks on it.
Yep. So I'll wait for it to exhaust itself.
Indeed. So after a while, from inside the trash can, you hear like a and you feel like the trash can jolt a bit, and you hear the sound of something like hitting the bottom of the trash can, presumably the spanner, and then the sound of this arm, now freed from its magnetic restraint, intensifies as it's basically like scrabbling around inside the trash can.
I'll motion to Corpacora. It's like, you might want to bring a. You still have the hand, right? The hand's still okay, but it's kicking.
Corpacora says, "No, I'm fine. I believe the rest will be sufficient. But thank you for your help." At which point she gestures and just starts walking off with the rest of her folks.
Yeah, thanks for stealing my employee.
Yeah, she seems not annoyed with that, just like a little bit exasperated, like, oh, if it's not one thing, it's another.
Mm-hmm.
And you're left with this Claison, who apparently believes it owes you a life debt. You sort of like find out that this Claison is called Gruke, Gruke.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically repeats in very primitive tones. He doesn't really seem to like have a masterful grasp of basic, but he repeats that he's going to stay with you until like he's paid off this debt. It's like a matter of honor to his species.
I'll get the lid and I'll do the thing where I sort of trap the arm in the trash can, if possible, and I'd like to hand that off to like the maintenance crew that I can find. Just like, oh, trash compactor. Like, don't open it. Just put it in the compactor.
Yeah, there's plenty of people around, so that's not a problem. Yeah. They sort of very gingerly take it off you.
So, I guess I'll shake hands with Grook. And
yep.
So yeah, we're going to go off scavenging. So that's what you'll also be doing, I guess. And I'll show him into the ship and introduce him. Sorry, what was that?
We need EMPs.
Is that how's the price for that kind of thing?
Let me see if I can find if there's any EMPs on the equipment list.
Don't remember seeing anything like that.
If there's not, I will probably make up some sort of highly inaccurate price for them. Modifications. This is multiply the starship's maximum hit points. Okay. So the defiant max hit points 60. So we are looking at. Right, okay. I'm going to base it on the cost of an ion charge. So it's going to cost you about 1,800 credits. And that's basically for like fitting like an EMP to one of your like proton missiles. Or if you wish, you can have them as separate missiles. But if they're separate missiles, obviously if they're proton missiles, the EMP will go off, then the proton missile will go off. So it'll do the EMP, then it will do the proton missile damage. Whereas if you just have them as like missiles on their own, they won't do any actual damage. They'll just hit and the EMP will go off.
I guess say stick with 2 for 1.
Yeah. I guess the question is, are we looking to bulk up this bottom of the range light transport, or do we think since we're
what can we buy? What's available to us that we can buy right now that's in the armored class?
Well, what's your total amount of credits that you have at the minute?
235,000 plus 250,000 worth of goods. I think a Star Cruiser's 100k.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and to be honest, a gunship's only 250k.
Yeah, but the Star Cruiser would also let us add all of the same.
Oh yeah.
Mods. We'd have enough money to buy all of the same mods.
Obviously, the thing with a Star Cruiser to bear in mind is it requires a minimum crew of 10. So as well as buying the Star Cruiser, you'd have to like hire on crew or take on crew. Now, effectively, I mean, you don't know what his skills are yet, but if you can like Shanghai like Grook this Clayson into doing something on the ship, that's like 4 people you've got. So you need another 6 basically.
Yeah.
How much do crew take for daily wages?
They're very cheap.
Yeah, they are like cheap as chips. It's ridiculous.
It's 35 credits a week for like a gunner.
So
it's only when you start getting like the specialists with like sort of trained skills like engineers and stuff and like technicians and stuff like that, it starts ramping up. But even then, I mean, an engineer's like 250 credits a week. Like mercenaries / soldiers are like 25 credits a week.
We could actually have our own company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very easily.
Yeah, because the captain and an engineer is 400, and then like 4 standard crew and 4 gunners is like 240. So like 500 quid a week, and you have a full crew ready to go, which means that we can do fancy stuff in smaller planes ourselves, and yet still be backed up by a star cruiser with 4 laser cannons and an EMP and an ion torpedoes and all of that sort of stuff. So I think we should do that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, pretty much, because you're in like a fairly decent sort of like port. Obviously, buying like a whole ship would like take you some time, because they've not just got loads of like gunships lying around. But you could certainly find it's a bit like a sort of car dealership. You know, if you want something that's a bit out of the ordinary, like high performance, they probably have to like order it. Then it'd have to arrive, and you'd like pay the money and you take it, etc. You put a deposit down, that sort of stuff. Whereas anything you want to buy in terms of like mods or anything sort of smaller, you can just sort of buy it now. If you wanted to buy another ship, you could do that. And if you wanted, we could just like fast forward the time and say, like, oh, you waited 3 weeks or whatever, your new ship has arrived, and we can carry on from there.
Well, why don't we do this then? Why don't we put down a deposit on a gunship, take our current ship out, and pick up more stuff, and then when we come back, you know, worst case scenario, we have the current cybernetics that we didn't necessarily want to sell. We can sell them to make up the difference, and then that would allow us to have the best of both worlds, right? So we have the gunship waiting for us. We can go now, get the stuff, come back, put the extra mods on the gunship, and then we roll around with, you know,
we fit the fighter in a gunship though.
Yeah, and then maybe buy a second fighter. So that, and then we have a launch bay, so the fighter can sit in the launch base on the gunship and then just be shot out, you know, whenever we need to go into combat, right? And then we can soup up the 3 of them then. Does that seem like a good idea? And then that would allow us to kind of move on now and take care of the paperwork between sessions as well.
Yeah. Okay, so if you guys want to put a deposit down on a gunship, it'll be a quarter of the cost, which is 62,500 credits, and you're told it'll probably be like a month before they can sort of get a gunship in, because obviously gunships, they're sort of military grade vehicles. They have to do like a lot more paperwork and stuff like that.
Oh, we want it in periwinkle blue.
The guy you're buying it off is like, hey, look, I'm just the seller. He's like, well, once it's yours, you can have it resprayed whatever colour you want. He's like, look, with these gunships, he's like, it's not easy to get hold of gunships. I mean, the Dominion's pretty much got the monopoly on military ships. I'll just have to get you what I can get. I know I can get you a gunship, but I can't guarantee the colour, mate. He's like, but hey, for given the amount of money you guys are apparently throwing around, I'm sure you can find someone here to like respray it for you.
Okay, and then I think we should hire 10 mercenaries, like level 1 kind of mooks, because they're whatever 200 each, a level 1. So if you just hire 10 of them, we just have like some backup should we go on to a bigger ship and we need stuff like that.
Okay, that's fine. So deduct that money, you'll have no problem finding like mercenaries on this planet. I mean, as you know previously with like Judo Finale, rest in peace, a lot of people are basically trying to get off this planet but quick, because there's basically one thing you can do on this planet, well, 2 things if you've not got a lot of money. You can either open a cantina, there's already loads of them, or you can be a miner and have a very short lifespan. So most people, like, as soon as someone's like, hey, not only are we going to take you away from this shithole, but also we're going to pay you, and all you've got to do is like shoot a gun, most people will be like, yes, sign me up.
Okay. I'm presuming they don't come armed, right? We'll pick up 10 laser rifles as well.
That's absolutely fine. Obviously, I've not got tokens prepared for all of that.
Out of curiosity, how much is a dreadnought?
That's a good question. It is 2.5 million.
Yeah, they ain't cheap.
We need like 100 people on it, so you need to be generating an awful lot of...
Something to aim for.
Yeah.
Okay, so Rob, can you please roll me a D3 and let me know what number you get?
Can. 2. 1. Sorry. 1.
No problems. Okay, so with all of rounding people up and hiring and buying various things, it takes you about a week to get all that sorted.
Right.
But at the end of it, you've got Grook, who's he's basically been super glued to Tan. Anywhere you've gone, Tan, even if you're just I'm just nipping out of the cargo bay to go and use the facilities. This Clayson's glued to you because he's I'm not going to let you out of my sight because I never know when I'll get a chance to repay my debt. So anywhere you go, you've got this Clayson mercenary right behind you.
There is a time when I will have just played hollow chess with him, I guess, and smoke some death sticks.
Okay, roll me a d6. Tell me what you get.
Is this how many arms I will lose?
No. Okay, so as you find he's actually surprisingly good at hollow chess, which you wouldn't have expected because he seems like this very taciturn, sort of monosyllabic sort of brute. But it takes him a couple of games to get used to it. He's obviously never played it before. But once you sort of phrase it as it's almost like a sort of game of military tactics, he then seems to pick it up very quickly, and he seems very capable of sort of looking at the board and sort of working sort of 7 moves ahead. I mean, he's still taciturn and very sort of monosyllabic, but he's surprisingly good at hollow chess.
He just needs to frame things the way that they work for him.
Yeah.
But I will have asked him across the table in one of our games. So let's say I don't know. I went to get something, and when I was coming back to the hangar, there was a cargo container that dropped on me, and I died.
Yes.
What would happen to you then?
If you are dead, I cannot repay debt.
And then?
But then I am. I would be. Disgraced for my people.
Okay, yeah, let's try and not have that happen then.
He nods and he says that it is the second greatest disgrace for my people. The first is refusing to honor the life debt. The second is failing to uphold it. And once outcast, I would be shunned by others of my kind.
Right. I'll make sure to have life-threatening experiences only in your vicinity, so hopefully we can avoid that.
He misses your sort of sarcasm, and he's like, yes, that is good.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we'll also pick up a robot, John, just as a bit of comedy banter.
What sort of robot do you want to pick up?
Mechanical.
Okay.
Protocol droid?
Yeah.
Oh my. Okay. Would you like to give this this mechanical robot a typically Wars-esque name?
2R2D.
Nice. And let me just have a quick look at the robot stats. I know roughly what they are, but just Just going to have a quick check over them, see what it says about them. Obviously, I know they're a sort of class. Mechanical robot, so can jury rig up to 3 times a day, and space ace a maximum of once per round, just like pilots. One that's designed for combat, most have an internal laser pistol. Okay, that's absolutely fine. And since you've named it 2R2D, I'm going to say it communicates in the sort of stereotypical sort of like whistling tones rather than in common.
Perfect.
Okay, yeah, so you've got this this little sort of semi-spheroid astromech style mechanical droid with like the little extendable arm with like the little welding torch on it and everything. Absolutely fine. It's fresh off the assembly line, so it doesn't really have a lot of personality yet, because they tend to like develop personality as time goes on, and it's pretty much a blank slate, but it's obviously programmed with all like the mechanical stuff that it's supposed to be able to do.
Perfect.
Yeah, so you have Grook, you've hired 10 mercs, and you've got 2R2D, your mechanical robot.
Did I manage to move the mainframe?
Roll me a d6. Anything but a 1, you've managed to move it without incident.
Three.
Yeah, that's fine. So you're moving it up to the front of the vessel, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. Luckily, because it takes you a bit of time, obviously, you've got to transplant various bits, but luckily you're very skilled in this department and you've got a week. So yeah, you managed to move the mainframe up to the front of the ship. Okay, so a week has passed. You've got all your various stuff as we've just discussed. What do you guys want to do?
I think we want to head back out to the graveyard and do some salvaging.
Okay, that's absolutely fine.
Is salvaging legal or is it illegal?
It occupies a sort of like quasi-legal sort of grey area, because technically you are allowed to salvage stuff, but really what you're supposed to do is anything sort of from 364 Sagan, you're sort of supposed to give like the Dominion outpost like first refusal on anything. But it's well known that like the Dominion can't police all of this massive sector. I mean, the bit you guys are in is just like a small like area of it. They can't police it all of the time, and it's well known people like just smuggle stuff out or just like don't reveal what they've found to the Dominion. It's like the worst kept secret in the sector. They're like, and the Dominion mostly, they're like, it's so dangerous in the certain parts of the sector that they don't actually like patrol inside the sector very much. So they're pretty much, if they catch you like coming out laden down with stuff, they'll probably be like, oh, we're going to inspect this, we want our cut. But unless they happen to stumble across you or you make a big splash when you're selling it all, in which case they'll probably pull you up. If you don't do that, you're probably all right.
So I'd probably buy a very expensive gunship, like.
That's fine though, because obviously you sold most of your stuff to Corpacora, who is certainly like has contacts to like fence that stuff away without it coming to the Dominion's attention. And all the stuff you've bought, you've just bought it with like credits, and you can be sure that like Corpacora's like got various like hedge funds and stuff that the money moves through. So you just turned up with some credits and gone, give me a ship. It might raise a few eyebrows, but there's not going to be any paper trail that's like, I have bought this with ill-gotten gains, salvaged from the 364 Sagan sector.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so when you guys are heading back to 364 Sagan, obviously you've got the Defiant. Is one of you going to be in the Bounty? Are you taking the Bounty with you?
I can fly the Bounty if we want to have it.
Yeah, I think it allows us to scan more ships in the same period of time. So yeah, I think we'll have both ships.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. Now I'm hoping you guys can see the map.
Yep.
Yeah, we're on the edge.
Yep. And obviously we've got the Defiant and the Bounty there. So as you're sort of coming into the edge of the sector, obviously you've been here before, you know the lay of the land, so to speak. As you're heading into the sector, you can see just to the north, I'm just going to use the cardinal directions just for convenience. So just to the north of you, Defiant, on your sensors, you're picking up the fragmented remnants of a destroyed human fighter. But it's a little more than just like fragments, like slowly floating in space. Yeah, that's the one.
Okay. Is there some way that can be color-coded, John, so that we know that we've scanned it and that there's nothing there?
That's why I've written destroyed fighter underneath it.
Okay, perfect, okay. Great minds think alike.
That's it. I did think when I was looking at the map earlier, I was like, yeah, I really need to find a way so you don't have to rescan everything again. So what I'll do is anything you scan from now on, I'll just put like a little note underneath it.
Perfect. Okay. So do you want to take us in there, Tyler?
Yep.
Obviously, we're not in any sort of combat rounds, so feel free to just move yourselves. You should all be able to move the various ships, so...
Right, and I scan this mass here.
Okay. So, as you're scanning this, you can see that it is of this strange sort of semi-biological alien style of vessel that you encountered previously. It's heavily damaged, although it's not entirely destroyed. You reckon about 50% of the ship has been heavily damaged based on your sort of surface scan. However, as you're scanning it, you are picking up a single, very faint life sign coming from within the ship.
Why do we always get life signs on these ships?
Maybe we should go across and find out.
I think we need to go and have a look and find out where this life source is coming from so we can rule it out of future scans.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, looking at the ship, it could be the ship. I don't know.
It's a very, very astute observation. It most certainly could be.
Okay, so Tyler, do you want to stay on the ship, and myself and Tan will take 2 mercs?
Yeah, but we've got company here.
Okay, so as you're scanning down there, you're picking up on your scanners what appears to be the sort of strange sort of ragtag ship that you saw coming into the sector as you were leaving, sort of heading towards the crippled cyborg vessels. However, now you're scanning it, you can see that this ship has been stripped bare. There are no life signs on it. Like, you can see, like, there's no power running through it. Like, big chunks of the external hull plating are missing. You can see areas where the ship is just open to the vacuum of space.
Did it look like that the last time we seen it?
It didn't. It looked in fairly bad repair, and like I said, it was trailing like plasma streams and stuff like that. But it was still active. It's like someone or something has like crawled over the ship and just like carved big chunks out of it.
Okay.
I'm guessing our cybernetic friend.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a little skull icon next to that to show you that it's inactive.
Okay.
Let's look at this and then, I don't know, just ignore that.
Yeah, I think so.
Cyborgs turn up.
Yeah, okay. And this stuff near the ship, John, is that one of these asteroid fields?
Yes, it is. Okay. And as you're sort of looking at it, it's like a moderate sort of asteroid field. You are picking up some like moderate radiation readings from the asteroid field on the scanners of the Defiant, but unless you actually try and like go through it into like the hexes that have been outlined, it's not going to be a problem for you. And to be honest, as long as you're sort of like you're not hanging around in there, it's probably not going to be too dangerous. If you flew through it though, unless you have advanced radiation shields, your ship would potentially take some damage as it passed through it.
Okay. So let's try and not do that. Okay. So I think myself and Tan and 2 Mercs will put on our spacesuits and head across, and then Tylo and the rest of the Mercs will stay on the Defiant and make sure to give us backup.
Okay, so Tan, if you're heading across with your sibling, are you just sort of like leaving the bounty where it is? Are you like grappling it onto the Defiant, or?
Yeah, it's gonna be grappled onto the Defiant, and then I'll jump from there.
Okay, no problems. So the two of you don your vac suits. 2 of these mercs that you've hired, laser rifles, vac suits as well. You all sort of like, again using the sort of like thruster jets, you head across to this strange sort of large ship. It's roughly the sort of size of a sort of star cruiser, although it's alien in its design. Again, you're sort of, since you've sort of experienced this through the way, Tan, you're again picking up this strange sort of sense as though like once this ship may have been, if not conscious, sort of partly alive, but it's now like deceased or quiescent. And you thrust around it for a little while before you find what appears to be a docking bay. It's open, so it's open to the vacuum, like the blast doors are open, so you can easily like your way in. As you head in there, you obviously find like the other blast door, which is sealed. You go through there, you sort of shut off the docking bay, etc. Once you're inside, you see there is oxygen in the ship. It's not quite the sort of oxygen mix you'd be used to, but it shouldn't be hazardous to you as you're sort of heading through the ship. Obviously, you've got like little mini scanner, like wrist scanners on your like vac suit, and you're sort of like, it's breathable in here. Now you've like sealed off the airlock.
Okay. So I guess I'd like to find some sort of computer terminal or whatever we think a computer terminal looks like on an alien spaceship, and try and hook my mini computer up to it to try and get access to the kind of core computer.
Okay, roll me a d6.
Five.
Okay, you do manage to find what you think are computer terminals. However, because the interface is like very alien, it's not made to like directly interface with your system. You think you can probably work out a way to connect it, but it's going to take you a bit of time.
Okay. So I still think I want to spend that time. Yeah, because I want to know what the life sign is and get access to the internal computer. So I'm going to spend a few turns trying to get that to work.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. So it takes you maybe half an hour to link your computer up. As you sort of link it up and you're effectively exploring like the user interface of this system, you get on your like little sort of view screen, you get like these bizarre sort of glyphs, which is obviously an alien language, that like appear on your computer screen.
Okay. And are they look like anything I've ever seen before, or are they just like totally alien to me? Just forgive the pun.
They're pretty alien to you.
Okay.
However, you do notice one thing. Most of these glyphs you're looking at, they're like a deep red, almost sort of browny colour. However, one of the glyphs sort of occasionally like flickers like a sort of golden amber colour before like returning to this like reddy brown.
Okay. And if I press that golden amber glyph, does anything happen?
Okay, you press it and you hear throughout to the sort of speakers on the ship, you hear an alien voice in a language you don't understand, says something, a couple of sentences, then there is a beeping noise, like 3 beeps, and then it fades out. Nothing obvious else happens around you.
Okay. I'm starting to think we bought the wrong robot. Okay, so...
Have you taken your droid with you?
No, but
Okay.
it's also not a diplomacy droid, so...
Very true, very true.
Okay, so I'll turn around to the guys and say, these are kind of red and dark brown glyphs. I think they might be deceased aliens, but this one is kind of flittering in and out, so I think if we can find it, that we might find an alien. And then I'll ask Khan, can he sense anything?
Do we have an idea whereabouts this would be, Balan? Where are we looking?
It's a fair question. I mean, it's a big old chip.
Does the glyph the location of the glyphs give any indication of where in the ship it might be?
They don't seem to. I mean, it may be that they're sort of separated out into sections like engine room, crew quarters, but obviously you don't understand the headings. They're not sort of on a diagram or anything convenient like that.
Okay. I'll take a stab in the void, as they say.
Go for it. Roll a d6 and tell me what you get.
That's a 5.
Okay. As you start reaching out with the way, at first you don't feel anything, and then you sense a vague presence. Just sort of like beyond the peripheries, but enough for you to like home in on. What do you do?
I'll start heading that way as far as the infrastructure allows.
Okay, as you, and this is a very sort of like prosaic description, but as you head towards it, and you're sort of leading the others presumably,
I'll sort of almost like absent-mindedly, as I'm just closing my eyes, feeling the ship, and then I get some kind of return. I'll just sort of like under my breath, almost like, I think I'm feeling something this way, and then I'll just go with hoping that Balan gets people to follow me.
Yeah, and as you're following up, one of the mercs sticks near Balan, and the other one is like, obviously you're sort of in this like slight trance state, focusing on the way, so you're a bit less aware of the physical world. One of the mercs is sort of next to you with like a laser rifle, like scanning the corridor, like basically keeping an eye on you and making sure nothing like catches you unaware. As you sort of get nearer to it, you're moving deeper and deeper into the ship. So this presence like gets stronger and stronger the nearer you're getting to it, and then as you sort of round a corner in this corridor, and you see what appears to be a large. Sorry, hold on a second. My phone's going off. Give me a second.
I won't lie, I thought that was the sound effect of a heartbeat.
Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so as you sort of round the corner in this corridor, you see like like the sort of standard like med bay style setup on a on like aliens, like the big plexiglass sort of screen.
Yeah, isolated chamber.
Exactly, isolated chamber. You can see what you think are maybe like cryogenic suspension pods. There's like 3 of them in there. 2 of them, like the glass in the front of them is shattered and they are empty. One of them has a patina of frost over the glass and you can't see what's inside, but the presence you're feeling is definitely coming from in there. And as you get nearer, suddenly it's like someone flicks a switch in your mind. There's just this noise like rushes into your brain, causing you to stagger backwards. And the only way I can describe it is it's like someone had picked up like a giant encyclopedia. They were stood right next to your ear and they were reading every entry very loudly in an alien language. Just this like stream of words just starts like pouring into your mind, like causing you to stagger a bit. Like the merc sort of like puts their hands out to like steady yourself as you like stagger back a little bit. But once you've adjusted to it, it's like not actually causing you any damage.
There's something here, all right, I'll say on our comms. I have no idea what it is, but it's... I hesitate to say lively because I think it's frozen.
Okay.
As you say that, suddenly the merc who stood next to you, Balan, sort of like nudges you and like points at their sort of little mini scanner on their wrist, and he says, "Sir, I'm picking up movement in the corridor ahead." And you can see like the sort of aliens like scanner thing where it's like 3 like blips going boop, boop, like moving towards your position.
Okay. Are they? Is there like a door between us and where they're coming from, or do we think it's just open corridor?
It's just like a long corridor, you think.
Okay. So this is. So we think that there's something in this cryogenic chamber, and that there's something else coming towards.
That's correct. There's 3 things coming towards you, sort of like down this corridor, but they've not turned the corner yet, so you can't see them. And there's also something you think cryogenically frozen, which appears to be what your brother has sensed.
Okay, and in terms of the scan that we did, we found a single life form.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that, I guess what we want to do then is myself and the other mercenaries will kind of find shelter, get our rifles ready, and kind of get ready to shoot when someone comes around the corner.
Okay, no problem. In a few moments, so you all hunker down behind cover, so you've all got like +2 to your AC. You're all prepped. Whatever comes around the corner, you're going to get to act first, because you're literally ready for it. And indeed, a couple of moments later, you see what appear to be 4. They look human, sort of figures wearing like ragged, like remains of flight suits, you think. But their faces are sort of gaunt, their eyes sunk into their head, and they appear to be, their mouths are gaping open, expressionless. They're sort of like shambling towards you slowly down this corridor, as though they were marionettes moved by an invisible puppeteer. Obviously, okay. Tyler as well, they're sort of keeping you up to date with everything that's going on. So you're on the comm, so you can sort of interject when you wish. And okay. the merc, sort of like the one who nudged you originally, like taps, and obviously their sensor is like picking up motion, and he's like, "Sir, I'm not picking up any life signs."
Okay. But then there was 3 blips, but there's 4 creatures.
It appears to be. And you see on the sort of like scanner, as you watch, you see like the 4th one, which is like lagging behind sort of a pit, because they're fairly short range scanners. You see it sort of appear on the scanner as it's like
okay.
a bit behind the others.
Okay. So I guess these look like they're zombies, right? I guess.
Yeah, you've seen people exposed to vacuum before. It's not pleasant. It almost sort of like freeze dries them, and okay. that's what these look like. They look like people who've been exposed to vacuum, but somehow they're still moving, albeit in this jerky, uncoordinated way.
Okay, so I think I'd like to open fire on.
That is absolutely fine. Make your attack roll.
Go. Okay. Oh, that's unfortunate. The second one.
Okay, so before anyone else has a chance to react, you're like, presumably you're armed with like a laser weapon.
Yeah, the laser rifle, yeah.
So you're like, poof, poof, and you fire a laser shot neatly into the foreheads of 2 of these figures, and they fall to the ground without making a sound and stop moving.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I shoot for the mercs too?
Yep, just roll me a d20. Well, just make a laser rifle roll.
Ooh, that looks like only 1 hit, I'd say.
Yep.
Single 14.
So one, they've only got a couple of hit points, so don't worry about the damage.
Okay.
One of the mercs, the one who's next to you, sort of taking your lead, raises his laser rifle and poof, not quite as neat as you. I mean, obviously it's not as well trained, but he basically drills a hole through its chest, and again it hits the deck without making a sound. Okay, Tan, what are you doing? Obviously the other mercenaries fired a couple of shots as well, but they've sort of gone a bit wide.
So these are legit human.
They look human, yeah. Well, there's only one of them remaining now. All the other three are on the deck with holes through. And again, this one's not even noticed its fellows have fallen. It's just shambling towards you.
I'll take a shot with my laser pistol. I guess I would have brought my rifle just in case.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Some firepower. So here goes. Yeah, I guess 18 is a hit.
Yeah. Yeah, so describe how you take down the last of these creatures.
So I will, as I asked about them, Tan will have just blinked and looked at it for the couple of seconds that it took for these others to get gunned down, and then just with a furrowed brow, it just raises the rifle, and this is sort of oh yeah, I'm shooting you, but that's not the problem. You're not the problem. You represent something that is the bigger problem. So I'm just sort of absent-mindedly shooting at it, thinking about what this portends.
Yep, not a problem. You take out the last of these creatures, and again it falls to the deck like a puppet with its strings cut, uttering not a sound aside from the soft thump of its semi-desiccated body hitting the metallic deck plate.
I'd like to get to the pod. Is the isolation thing?
You head to the door. It looks to be sealed. You can see some sort of control panel again with these alien glyphs on it.
Alan, check one of the bodies out.
Okay. And can you also run a longer range scan and see if you can see any more movement?
Yeah,
because they're not showing life signs, but they are showing on the movement scanners. And I will examine one of the bodies.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. So, on your scan, Tylo, you are picking up what appears to be another sort of 8 movement signatures. Because first of all, you run the standard life sign scan, 1 life sign, which is what you were getting before. However, now you're sort of told scan specifically for movement, which isn't a standard scan because there's always movement on a ship. It's a ship. Yep. But you quickly reconfigure the scan, run the scan. You're picking up 8 sort of movement signals throughout the ship.
There's 8 more moving.
Okay.
Although they don't appear to be specifically heading towards your companions, they just appear to be sort of generally milling around various bits of the ship.
They're just wandering about.
Okay. Well, maybe keep an eye on them and let us know if they move in our general direction.
Okay.
Yep, no problem. I'll let you know if that's the case. So you've moved over to the body, Balan. You look down at it, like I say, it looks human, although the sort of the stomach of the sort of body looks oddly distended. If you've ever seen any pictures of people who are starving and their stomachs sort of bloat up, it looks a little bit like that. But aside from that, it looks to have been exposed to a vacuum. It looks dead and freeze-dried. The eyes have sunk back in and sort of withered away. The skin's very drawn and sort of brittle, bits that have flaked off as it's hit the ground.
Okay. And its clothes or what's left of its vac suit.
Yeah, it doesn't look so much like a vac suit. It looks almost like the standard sort of duds you'd see a maintenance crew member wearing, just a fairly functional jacket and trousers. They look quite old, and they're sort of shredded and partly rotted and sort of falling off it.
Okay. Do they look like Dominion issue?
They do not. They're not the standard colour scheme for the Dominion, and the sort of cut of them doesn't even vaguely look like a Dominion outfit.
And do they look modern do you think that they're as old as the ship?
They look to be quite old. It's difficult to tell the exact age though, because obviously like, a lot of the ship's been exposed to vacuum, which would have like had certain preservative qualities, but they don't look like any sort of modern design of like a jumpsuit that you're familiar with, and you've probably seen a lot of like ship's crew in your time.
Okay. Cool. So I'll relay that to the other guys that they look not modern, but not Dominion. So.
Okay, so Tan, you're stood in front of this this strange glyph-covered control panel. What do you do?
Is there any way to distinguish any elements of the UI? Like, is it just a screen with glyphs on it, or is it just like, is there like UI elements to it?
It's just a screen with glyphs on it.
Yeah.
But make me an intelligence roll to see whether you can sort of work anything out about the glyphs.
That's a negative.
Yeah, you're sort of looking at it and you think you see the glyphs are like organised into like sections, but they're not like a diagram of the ship or anything. Mm-hmm. So if you could understand the language, it's probably like, oh, this is for pod 1, this is for pod 2, etc., etc. But since you've no idea how whatever this species is organises their data, you don't really know what the sections correspond to.
Can I see inside while I'm at the panel?
Yeah, you can see through this sort of like plexiglass like covering into what you assume is the med bay beyond.
Yeah. I'll just start at the top left, just try that, and I'm looking in to see if something changes.
Okay, so you press maybe a D6 roll, since you pretty much just like pressing things at random. Yeah, make a D9 roll. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. How do you make custom rolls?
You do /R space 1D whatever the number is.
So the same format.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
That's a 1.
Okay, so you start pressing it. The first few you press don't do anything. They're just like However, eventually you press 1 and the door in front of you sort of goes and it half sort of opens, but only like about that wide, and then obviously like the servo seize up and it stops.
Yeah. Can you squeeze in with a vac suit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a tight squeeze, and you have to like wriggle through, but it's fine. There's no like real sharp edges on it, so.
Yeah. And I guess especially for me because I'm quite a stocky.
Yeah.
So, I'll get on the comms and say, be advised, I'm entering what I think is the med bay. This is where the life signal is coming in. I'll go in to check what it is.
Yep.
If it comes to it, because I don't know what this is, it could be anything really. But if it comes to it, please close the door behind me. Okay, so going in.
Yeah, not a problem. You squeeze in through the sort of hole in the seized up door without a problem. You're now in this med bay. Like I said, a couple of like cryo tubes that are obviously not occupied and they're empty, and there's this one with this pattern of frost. You can see various sort of instrumentation sort of blinking on and off.
Mm-hmm. I'll go see one of those ones that are shattered. Sort of take a look inside, how big it is, what kind of instrumentation is inside.
It's large enough to contain a single person of human size. You can see like the sort of glass covering on them has been shattered. Roll me a D6.
That's a 6.
Okay, as you also look, you don't find any evidence of like humans in them, and they're obviously like wrecked beyond sort of repair. However, as you're looking at the second of these wrecked cryopods, you find what appears to be this strange sort of, almost like, it looks like maybe like an eel or like a long worm that's just like lying in the bottom of the wrecked stasis pod. It's obviously dead, but it's just sort of like lying on the bottom of it in a pool of what looks to be like sort of dried up ichor of some kind that's obviously like seeped out of it and then just sort of like evaporated or dried up. It's about yay long and about yay thick.
Okay. A deceased life form about an arm's length from fingertips to your shoulder. Looks like some kind of a worm. I'm not sure if it's meant to be a parasite or something else, but it's long gone. But
Alan, how do you feel about cutting one of the bodies open?
Not keen. I
like to think that's the exact tone like Balan uses over the comms as well. Not keen.
Well, have one of the mercenaries do it, because we need to know what brought that thing to life.
So I'll use a mono axe and slice the creature open.
Yeah, okay, you slice its distended belly open, and as you do, the sort of withered remains of its intestines sort of spill out. There's quite a horrendous smell as you do so. Luckily, you're protected from the worst of it, vac suit. As it spills out, you can see that there appears to be the remnants of a large eel-like creature sort of like wrapped around its internal organs. The creature appears to be dead.
Okay. So I will come out on the comms to say that these walking dead creatures also have a worm eel wrapped around their internal organs, and we should be very careful about opening the last cryo chamber.
Yep. Right. Approaching the last cryo chamber, is the frost on the inside or
it's on the outside?
It's on the outside.
You get the feeling as you're sort of looking, I mean, you're no tech expert, but you get the feeling as you're looking at it that maybe there's like a very slight sort of coolant leak that's causing it to frost up on the outside. It's not enough to like seriously impair its functions, but obviously it's been here for a long time, so like it's very slowly sort of starting to break down, but it's still working at the minute.
I'll get my mono sword, and from the full distance,
I understand.
I'll scrape it like it was a window scraper.
Okay, not a problem. You scrape the pattern of frost off this cryo tube, and as you do, you see there's what looks to be a beautiful human woman, long black hair. In there, she has her arms sort of crossed across her chest. She looks very peaceful, very serene. She's like lying back on the sort of cushioned backing of the cryo tube. Her eyes are closed. She looks as though she's in a peaceful sleep.
Just a quick check, Balan. You found another one of those worm creatures.
Yes. Wrapped around the internal organs.
Was it also, was it fresh? Was it decrepit like the...
It seemed reasonably fresh, although it's like a big eel thing, I mean, how much do you know about the freshness of eels,
Yeah, I guess, was it moist?
Yes.
Because this one wasn't, so... Okay. That's not good. I was hoping it would be a case of the dry eel, but...
Okay, so what I'm going to suggest here, guys, is give you a bit of time to think about this. I'm going to suggest we have like a scheduled 10-minute break here.
Yeah.
Use the facilities, refresh your drinks, etc. Have a think about what you want to do. We'll come back in 10 minutes and then we'll crack on. Does that sound okay for everybody?
Yep. Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, so we'll be back in 10. Right, just wait for the others to get back and then we'll crack on.
All right, mate.
And I will tell you while we're waiting, Tylo, that on your scanners now you've sort of moved a bit nearer, as well as the sort of strange ramshackle, sort of partially dissected vessel. You're also picking up the remnants of two of the three cyborg star cruisers. They also appear to have been extensively cannibalised. However, of the third one there is no sign. And obviously the dissected cyborg vessels are are sort of here and here. Okay, so we're back into it. You're looking down at this cryo tube with this apparently this human female inside it, Tan. What do you do?
Is there any visible sign of the device being powered in some way, as compared to the ones that are broken?
You can see there are like various like lights flashing on it, which suggests there is some power going through, and obviously the fact that like the temperature around it's cold suggests that it is working.
Okay, I guess I'll put a hand on the glass.
Yeah, it feels like slightly chill to the touch.
And I will reach out.
Okay, you don't have to make a roll for this. Again, it's like someone's sort of shouting an encyclopedia into your mind, but in a... It seems like a number of different languages, none of which you understand. And it's very loud and almost painful for like a brief second, and it sort of dies down as you sort of mentally adjust to it. It takes you less time to adjust now because you're sort of expecting it.
On the comms, I don't know what to make of this one. It's the unit is working. If this is a person, then they're alive.
Okay. Can your scanner check if there's a second life sign in the stomach?
Do we have the instrumentation for that? If so, I will scan.
You do. Yep, you've all got like the little like wrist scanners. They're only very close range, but yeah, you can like scan for life signs close range. You run your scanner sort of starting at the top, the woman's head, obviously picking up life signs there, like heartbeat, etc., etc. And as you scan down to her stomach, as Balan rightly theorised, you are picking up a second life sign in the stomach cavity. Although her stomach doesn't appear to be like distended and bloated like the creatures that have been killed.
Yeah, those two creatures.
I'm kind of torn, Tan. I wonder, should we open it and see what happens, or see if there's some way we can take it off the ship? But I'm kind of thinking, if it is a parasite, we don't take it off the ship.
No.
But it may just be some sort of symbiotic.
That's what I was thinking.
Partnership.
For reasons which I will not go into. It might be something like that.
Is there any dots on the neck?
Are there?
No. Okay. I think we
Does
all
she have a golden glyph on her forehead?
No.
No Egyptian iconography in the room.
No, although did he use strange pictograms?
Guess that's true. Honestly, I don't know what we should do. Of course, we can just leave.
Yeah, but where's the fun in that? I
need to look at these glyphs.
So, I'll. I guess we can get some footage, which we can give to Tylo, from the panels around.
Yeah, you can certainly sort of scan them with your sort of wrist scanner and then beam it back to the ship. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're seeing on your sort of instrumentation panel these glyphs that they're sort of panning over.
That's good. I've got a skill that lets me deal with that.
Oh, have you indeed?
I can use jury rig at your discretion to try and understand another technology.
Love it. Okay. So let me just have a quick look at how that works. Takes one round. Okay, so I'll tell you what. Make me you will get some level of understanding regardless of your roll, but make me a d6 roll. The higher the number you get, the greater your understanding gleaned from it.
2.
Okay, so you're sort of very broadly sort of like piecing it together. So you're basically going, right, this section must correspond to that wrecked cryotube, which means these symbols which are similar must be the other wrecked cryotube. based on their positions, these must be the ones that correspond to the one that's working. So you've not got the exact meanings, but it appears to be basically like the life sign sort of like readouts that you'd use to monitor someone in cryogenic suspension. The middle one is registering like a number of minor faults, like I said, like the slight coolant leak, etc., but it's working at around like 95% efficiency, and it's like tracking the two life signs that are inside it. The other two have basically suffered like catastrophic system failures and hardware damage, and they're pretty much kaput.
Well, it's going to fail eventually.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the system's aware that the other life form was in there. It's not detecting it as a hostile pathogen, whatever you want to call it.
No, and you can see from what you can work out from the glyphs that the life signs of the two occupants, for want of a better term, seem to be sort of like intrinsically linked together, but the system has very deliberately been set up to sort of monitor and like care for both of them.
Okay, so the system itself is trying to keep both the host and the parasite alive. I can only assume at that point that it's a mutual bond rather than a hostile bond.
Or at any rate, this was...
I'm not a doctor.
Purpose.
Yeah, but we don't know that it's not the parasite controlling it, right? As well. Because it's an alien ship, alien parasite.
Well, I can only assume at this point that because the system says that both are, for lack of a better term, in sync, you know, it's a mutual bond. It's not something that's been done to them. So I'm all for opening it.
Right. Balan, please close the door.
Should we all come in case?
I think let's close the door. You stay there. I'll be here. We'll see
Okay.
what happens.
What one of the mercs, like the one who's been following you, Tan, says, "Do you want one of us to stay out here with you, sir, looking at you, Balan, and the other to go in there just in case things get a bit dicey?"
No, if you both stay here with me.
Yeah.
They nod and they're sort of covering the door, basically.
Yeah, minimize whatever this is, in case it is something we need to minimize.
Mm-hmm.
By which I mean shoot everything if it goes bad.
You hear like the mercs on the comms are like, "Understood, sir," and they're basically like ready to go with their laser rifles pointed at the door.
Yeah. So I'll it's like Tyler. Which one is the open?
I'll just guide them to the power down and safe opening.
Yeah, no problem. Tyler says, obviously she doesn't know 100%.
Yeah.
But she says, I think if you press these three glyphs, that'll initiate like the power down sequence, like the defrost sequence.
I like to think that there's like a 15-minute period where I follow the instructions and it like there's a and then red lights come on and there's like a very distinct like countdown thing going on. It's like, oh, that was not it.
Indeed, you see these strange sort of anglia glyphs appear, and then they're like burp, burp, burp,
Yeah.
burp, in the sort of Predator countdown style. Like red lights go on, and then after a few moments, there is like this, and this sort of like cloud of vapor sort of wafts out of the cryo tube as like the front sort of plastic glass sort of shield of it sort of like detaches and slides to one side. You can see that on the on your readout, Tylo, that like the life signs are getting stronger, obviously, as the occupants are like coming out of cryo sleep, and eventually you see the woman who's like lying back on these this cushioned sort of cryo backing slowly starts to sort of like shift a bit, as though she's like waking up from like a really deep sleep, but is like a little bit groggy. She slowly opens her eyes, and she sort of like looks up at you, and you see like her eyebrows raise in surprise as she sees you sort of like near the cryo tube, Tan. And then she said something in a musical voice in a language you don't understand.
I'll say in basic, just I'm sorry, I don't understand.
At which point she switches to speaking in basic, obviously recognizing the language you're using, but it's like a sort of old, like archaic version of like basic, but you understand enough to get the gist. And she sort of like raises a hand very slowly to point to you, and then she says, "Human."
with a rising intonation, I guess. So that's correct.
She sort of looks at you and he says, "Is the attack still underway?"
I think the attack might have happened a very long time ago.
She suddenly sort of she starts as though like she remembers something, like her memory's all foggy, and she starts as though she's going to try and like get out of the tube like quickly, but she's still like very woozy and sort of groggy from this like probably longer than was intended sort of cryogenic suspension in this sort of slightly shonky cryo tube that's been breaking down, and she sort of half stumbles and starts to fall out of the cryo tube.
Yeah, so I'll grab her. Is she attached to the apparatus in some way, or
she doesn't appear to be, no.
Yeah, okay. So I'll grab her and sort of just get her out.
Yeah, as you're sort of helping her out, she says, I need to check on the rest of the crew. And then you see her eyes widen as she obviously like sees these two wrecked cryo tubes for like the first time, as her eyes are sort of clearing.
Yeah, and I'll say there's no more crew.
She sort of, a look of sorrow comes onto her face, and in a very quiet voice she says, then the Dominion really did it. They've killed them all.
They've certainly killed a lot of people. If it's the same one, they've been at it for hundreds of years.
She says, we were in the middle of preparing some of the crew, and they attacked us. There was a power surge throughout the systems, which shorted out a lot of our ship. Myself and again, she looks very sad when she says this. Two companions made it to the cryo tubes. We hoped that another Zol ship would pick us up. How long have I been asleep?
I've no way to tell for sure, but there's other ships here which we've guessed are centuries old.
She sort of lets out a little gasp when you say that.
I will have linked my, the comms so that everyone can listen in.
That the rest of you guys can hear this conversation going on.
I'm going to look up the Zol on the database.
Okay, no problems. Make me a wisdom or intelligence roll, your choice.
Success.
Lovely. Now, it takes you a little while. At first, you don't find any mention of anything called a Zol. However, as you basically like the sort of galactic encyclopedia, like the galactic Wikipedia, for want of a better term. And as
like
you're
his Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah, pretty much. As you're sort of going through it, however, you eventually do find just a very small sort of reference to the Zol. And it's basically, when you get one of those pages on sort of Wikipedia where you try and look up one thing and it's like, oh, do you mean this?
Yeah.
And it's sort of like just links to another page. As you're sort of looking at it, you effectively see that, and you can see that it's a race also known as the Koldar. They're described as a symbiotic race who apparently can only exist outside their homeworld when they're joined to another sentient creature. They're described as non-hostile, however their homeworld has, since sort of time immemorial, has been quarantined by the Dominion. The little reference to the sort of Zol basically says there was once a more aggressive strain of the species called the Koldar, but they are now believed to be extinct. But that's really all there is on them, which is a little odd in itself. Like, it's like the smallest entry you've seen on like any race, and it's basically just like, oh, symbionts, only on the homeworld, quarantined by the Dominion, access denied.
Okay, guys, so the Dominion don't like these people, and the symbiont is a mutual thing. They can't exist off planet without a symbiont.
Okay.
And I don't think we're going to get them home without being one of the Dominion's most wanted persons.
All right.
So should we take her off the ship?
Yeah.
So I'll say to her. So my friends think they understand your situation. There's probably very little left here. I'll indicate the ship that we're on for you, unless you want to fetch some personal effects that haven't been lost to the vacuum.
She shakes her head briefly, and then almost as though she's just sort of like thinking aloud to herself rather than directly saying it to you, she says, I don't understand. All we tried to do was share what we had with the Dominion. I don't understand why they would have done this.
Yeah, they I don't really. I'm not the best to give you the detailed breakdown of what the Dominion is, but that is in its nature.
At which point she says, can you tell me what happened to the... And then she says a word that obviously doesn't have a direct translation, which doesn't mean anything to you.
Yeah. I don't know exactly who those people are, but we've found...
She puts her hand on her own stomach as you say that.
What happened to them? I'll point her.
She nods and says, we were in the process of preparing some of the crew when there was a power surge. The joining process is a very delicate thing. The smallest disturbance can cause great harm to both involved.
There were some mobile human remnants in the corridor outside.
She sort of like looks blankly, and then says, maybe the power surge. I don't know. I'm not one of our medical technicians. I understand the process as far as it goes, but I don't know the exact details of it.
They were gone, but mobile.
She nods
somehow.
Suddenly.
Perhaps it's a conversation you should have back here rather than there.
Suddenly you hear on the comms, you hear, we've got movement. And Tyler, you can see roll me a d6, Tyler.
2.
Okay, so you can see perhaps drawn by the beeping of the machinery or something else that 2 of these shambling creatures are sort of encroaching on where your comrades are gathered.
You've got 2 more coming towards you, so you might want to hurry.
Obviously the 2 mercs have sort of dropped down into the firing stance of covering the corridor, ready to go.
Right, we should be about more of the deceased are coming.
She nods and says, yes, this place doesn't have anything for me anymore. We should leave.
Right, okay. Balan, can you get the door open? Everyone else, don't shoot us as we come up.
Understood.
So I'll open the door.
Yeah, not a problem.
Now, we have a spacesuit shortage problem. Is there any equipment left on the ship that might work for us?
As Tan's sort of like helping this this woman out of the room, because she's still like quite weak and obviously like a bit frail, having been in cryo for so long. So you're pretty much having to like support her with like one of your arms, Tan. She says, "Yes, there's a container down there. If you help me to it, I can. There should be what I need in there." One of the mercs is like, "Wouldn't advise it, sir. Movement's getting closer," and he's like looking down at his movement scanner.
Okay. Whatever you need to do, be very fast.
She said, "I need you to help me. It will take me some time to get my strength back."
Okay, so I will go first with the mercs.
Yeah.
And we'll move past the container and then put up like a perimeter so that Tan and the lady can come down after us and open the container. And
no problem. She basically takes you over to like an alien version of a storage locker, Tan, and when she opens it, you can see like you can hear like a seal being broke. So obviously it's been like sort of vacuum sealed. So when it's opened, although the suits inside, like the vacuum suits, they're an alien design and they look quite old, they're still serviceable. And she slowly takes one out and she basically gets you to help her start putting this like vac suit on. But she has to like, stop a couple of times. You can tell she's still not fully recovered. You know, she's like struggling to catch her breath and sort of she's still a bit disorientated. But you're helping her put on this space suit. So, Balan, as you and the two mercs are there, you do indeed see sort of like in the flickering light of these, of the sort of semi-wrecked vessel, you do see two of these sort of bloated, sort of humanoid, cadaverous-like creatures sort of shambling down the corridor towards you.
Okay. So, how far away are they?
Probably about, as they turn the corner, they're probably about 80 feet away.
Okay.
Give or take.
And this girl is still taking her time to put the suit on. So
it's going to take her the equivalent of like a couple of rounds to put it on, because obviously Tan's having to like help her.
Okay.
And they're obviously checking out the suit as well to make sure it's like still good.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we'll just have 6 rifle shots to see if we can't.
Yeah, go for it. A salvo of laser fire rings out.
Okay. I'd say that looks like about 3 hits.
Well, they've only got AC 10, so I think that's probably about 4.
4 hits, yeah.
So yeah, so roll me your damage for your 4 hits. I think you'll be good.
It's 8d6, right?
Yeah.
8d6. So 32 damage total.
Not a problem. There is this absolutely deafening salvo of like laser fire from just beyond you, Tan, and obviously you can see like the backs of the mercenaries and your brother, and you see like that sort of flash of light as they're like firing off these laser blasts, and they utterly annihilate these like 2 zombies to the point where like there's more hole than there is zombie as they sort of fall to the floor. However, the woman is now in her spacesuit, but due to like the sort of noise of the firing, you are now registering, Tylo, that the remaining 6 movement signatures are slowly also starting to converge.
The other 6 are heading towards you.
Okay. Do we think they'll make it?
It's going to take them like at least sort of like 4 or 5 rounds to get to you, and the woman's got a suit on. You are like good to go basically.
Okay.
So if you want to nip out before they get it, you can easily do that.
Yeah, I think we'll do that.
Yep. So you go back through the airlock procedure again. Obviously her suit has like little thrusters on it like yours, and you all make your way back over to the Defiant. No problems at all. You get back on board. Tan, are you heading back to the Bounty, or are you heading to the Defiant first?
Probably to the Bounty as soon as I can, because we need to detach that.
Okay, so Tan heads back to the Bounty. Balan, the Mercs, and the woman head back onto the Defiant, because obviously the Bounty's in like a one-man ship. And we sort of smash cut to all of you guys sort of like on the Defiant with this woman. You've effectively got like a comm pad there with Tan on like a Zoom call, so you can like see his sort of face. You can see he's got like his helmet on and everything like strapped into the Bounty. But obviously you can talk and you can sort of join in any conversation. So you're all gathered with this woman on board the Defiant. You're not picking up any signs of movement from like other ships coming in or anything like that. What do you guys want to do now?
I think we should examine these star cruisers, because those cybernetics were incredibly valuable. Are those star cruisers destroyed the same way as the...
Yes, it appears so. It looks like they've been strip mined.
Strip mined, okay. Okay. So I wonder what did that to them.
One thing you do notice is when you originally faced the cyborgs, there were 3 cyborg star cruisers. There were only 2 there.
Okay.
I mean, they might have done it themselves, really.
And you know that when the sort of blast went off from the weapons platform, self-destructing, that all of the cyborg star cruisers were severely damaged.
Okay.
Right,
so
let's ping that one.
Yeah.
Okay, just give me a second to look up the scanning rules, because I genuinely cannot remember them. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, not a problem. So you spend a little bit of time scanning the vessel. Are you looking for anything in particular? Or are you just doing a general scan?
Just doing a general scan of the damage. Is it energy weapon? Has it literally been torn asunder?
It looks as though the ship was extremely damaged by the explosion that went off, and then someone or something has basically like removed all of the bits that were still working from it. So like most of the engine's gone. Most of like the interior computer systems have gone. There's no power going through the ship. Like say several bits of the hull have been taken off, exposing it to vacuum.
Guys, I'm going to guess that it's been cannibalized by the surviving ship.
Okay.
Probably to repair their own.
Okay. Well, let's have a look at this ship to the north of us then, and let's scan it.
Okay. Not a problem. Again, it's one of these strange sort of alien ships. It's similar manner to the one you've just been on. This is more sort of the size of a heavy transport than like a star cruiser. You know, you're picking up like a big sort of hold area on it. It's about 50% destroyed. You could probably get the systems restored if you had enough familiarity with them. You're not picking up any life signs on board.
What's this woman's name?
If you've asked her, she tells you that her name is Zanar.
Okay. Is that transport ship carrying anything of importance to you?
She says, not to me personally. We were on it would have been originally carrying supplies, food, obviously crew. We were on a peaceful mission. We did nothing but extend a hand of friendship and an offer of knowledge to the Dominion, and they attacked us without warning. We expected to meet a diplomatic envoy, and we were met with a battle fleet. Well, we defended ourselves as best we could, but we were hopelessly outnumbered.
Okay.
What do you want to do? Do you want to take this lady out of here, or?
No, I think we just want to keep until we find something.
Okay. 2, 3. What exactly do you want to find?
I will find a single small fighter or a star cruiser eligible, or a gunship, or something bigger than a ship with, parts or something of value.
Okay.
Okay, so you're sort of near 3 fighters at the moment. You scan 2 of them, so this one here, and this one here, and they're pretty much totaled. They're little more than wreckage. The one that's here, you do scan that. That's again heavily damaged. There's no life signs, but you think this would be salvageable given that enough time.
Okay, so myself and Royd will head out and try and stop.
So, sorry, say again, you're breaking up a little bit.
Sorry, my droid will head out this one.
Okay, no problems. So yourself and 2R2D head out towards the salvageable fighter craft. It's an archaic Dominion one-man fighter craft. It looks to be fairly heavily damaged. Roll me a d6.
Uh, 4.
Okay, so you think it's going to take about maybe like 40 minutes to an hour to sort of get it to some sort of basically usable state with your droid helping you out?
I'm going to scan this one, John.
Okay, not a problem. So whilst Balan's doing that, you scan that. It is a human star cruiser. Again, it's heavily damaged, but could probably be restored given enough time. You're not picking up any life signs on it.
Do you want to check out that bit to the south?
This one.
That's the one with the biomechanical stuff going on. I don't know that we scanned this one. So would that be a possibility?
Yeah.
Okay, so you scan the other one. It appears to be some sort of star cruiser, again of this sort of alien manufacture, and this one is pretty much totaled. Like 75% of it's been destroyed. You think the chances of salvaging it, unless you had like a massive shipyard and like major repair crews, is fairly negligible.
Yeah.
Scan this small one.
Okay, the little fighter. Again, it's a small stunt fighter. It's pretty much totaled.
Okay. I think all you're going to find around here, guys, is more cyborgs at some point and broken ships.
Yeah. I think try and get this our crew, try and salvage the two of them. Okay.
Yeah, it's up to you guys what you want to try and salvage.
Can the bounty go and scan over here?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the scanners are a little bit more short range, but once you're close to something, Tan can scan it. So this ship here is a small stunt fighter. Again, it's pretty much totaled. This one here is an archaic human. The other one is a human archaic blockade runner. It's about 75% destroyed, but I mean, you're no expert, but you think given enough time it could probably be salvaged.
Okay, well, I'll give the estimation of, like, there's this, but it's not going to be, you know, gold. It's going to be the long form salvage job. It's not going to be easy money. It's going to take time and work.
They are labeled up.
So, do we want to just, you know, set our sights on one of these, like this one, the blockade runner over here, which could then just like spend the time, break apart, take the good bits, tow them.
Well, we could just try and get it to move, right, and fly it rather than try it.
Okay, well, I'll leave that to one of you.
Yeah, I mean, for all his like amazing like Star Knight powers, Tan is not a ship mechanic by any stretch of the means.
No.
He's like, if you want me to like carve a bit off of my Star Sword, that I can do.
Yeah, yeah.
I can bought him a droid.
Yeah, obviously, if you have someone repair, if you have just a droid repairing it, it will take the standard time. If you have someone with the droid assisting, it will reduce the time. Sorry, I didn't catch any of that. You're breaking up, man.
Sorry, firing and start for the fighter.
Sorry, did you say how long is it going to take to salvage the fighter?
Yes.
Okay, so with both you and the droid doing it, it's going to take 1d3 turns. So each turn being like roughly 10 minutes.
Has Balan departed for that fight in there?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I'm going to
he's
move.
gone over with the droid.
2, 3. Scan these two human star cruisers.
Okay. So, as you're scanning them, this one here, again, it's in a bad way, but it could be salvaged. This one here is pretty much totaled.
Guys, we're just floating around in scrap.
You can see that whatever happened here, it was obviously like a very intense sort of pitched battle. There's so many like wrecked ships lying around here, and even the ones that aren't completely wrecked, they're severely damaged.
Right, we've bought a star cruiser. Why are we trying to salvage parts of a star cruiser?
We can't the one who...
You know, we've got best part of 500,000 credits. I'm fairly certain we can build what we need to build with that for now.
At which point, obviously, on the Defiant, Zanar says, well, I'm sure my people would reward you if you can take me back to our homeworld.
Take what back?
Take me back.
Okay. If everyone's in agreement, we can try and take our esteemed guest back. I don't know if there's anything left, but...
She says, what do you mean?
Well, it's been a lot of time. I've never seen your homeworld.
I suppose you're right. I mean, if there's one thing the thousands of years have taught me, it's that things seldom last.
I'm guessing that if you're here and the Dominion turn up, we're not going to exactly be the party.
Well, no. I mean, given their reaction to us previously, although I don't understand it, it was that they attacked us with an assault fleet. Again, I don't understand why. All we tried to do was share our knowledge with them.
So what I'm trying to say is, guys, you know, who's up for a flight to a barricaded world?
Should we bring our entire fleet?
We might want to take something heavier than what we've got.
If only you'd recently ordered a gunship.
If only.
Yeah, we if the foresight required to do that, it is the way.
So we did it. We salvaged the blower. Is I that's would be the world it didn't back.
Sorry, say again.
Is the world?
Say again. I didn't get any of that, dude.
We should sack the runner. The blockade.
Salvage the blockade runner, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely something you can do. So, let's see. So, presumably you're talking about the one that's here. Yep. Okay, so for brevity, I'm going to assume that we get the Defiant to like shuttle Balan and your droid over there. So, Rob, can you roll me a D3? Okay, so it's going to take you, with the droid's help, it's going to take you about 10 minutes to get that sort of. It's not going to be up to full running working order, but so that you can like fly it. I'll make a quick roll to see if anything happens while you're doing that. Okay. So, as that is going on, you start picking up, Tylo, a strange sort of electronic signal that seems to be sort of coming from somewhere nearby. Let me just see if I can put a little icon on the map to show you where it's coming from. There we go.
Ooh.
You start picking up this strange electronic signal, and then suddenly all of you on your various ships, through whatever comms you've got, whatever sort of audio capable devices you've got, a strange sort of almost operatic style music. You know, like the singer in Fifth Element.
Yep.
A sort of similar sort of music like that starts coming out of any audio devices you've got. Can you please make me a saving throw, all of you? And let me know if you fail.
Which one am I rolling?
It can be any of them. They're all the same.
I fail.
Okay. So it's just Tan then.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, so this isn't probably space magic.
Technically, it is.
Okay, well, that's it's still not enough for me. I don't think my bonus is 2. Yeah.
Okay, so all of you, you're almost sort of like put into a semi sort of trance state by this strange ethereal music, and almost without you willing it, anyone who's piloting a ship, your sort of hands start to move on the controls to like move your ship nearer towards this strange emanation. And although it looks like an octopus on the map, it's more like a sort of ripple or a distortion in space. And you slowly find yourself sort of like piloting the ship towards it. Tylo, you're sort of like, again, you're in this trance, you're starting to like move the controls to like move your ship nearer to it, when Zanar just like just like slaps you hard around the face, which like snaps you out of it, and you look down at the controls and you can see that you were like midway through like plotting a course at like full impulse speed towards this distortion, but like her slap has like brought you round and you're able to like come back to yourself.
Okay, I'll start moving away.
Yeah,
and trying to get hold of Tarn.
Okay, as you move away, you can see the Bounty sort of like using the maneuvering thrusters to like point itself towards this distortion, and you see like the sort of jets on the back of it like heating up as it's going to like full acceleration, sort of heading towards this thing.
No, suppose I've got an override code, have I?
It's not been specifically said, but make me a D6 roll. If you get a 1 or a 6, I'll say you've like got some sort of override built in.
A 2.
Okay, unfortunately not. However, you can still get through on like the audio like comms to like Tan. So what are you saying? Obviously, you know people can be snapped out of it because you have been.
Yeah.
So what are you saying?
Tan.
Okay, Tan, you can have another saving throw.
Ooh.
Okay, so as you're sort of like in this trance state and you've pointed your ship towards this distortion, you've just like pushed the slider up to take yourself to full power. You suddenly you hear this muffled sort of something impinging on your awareness, and as your sort of focus swims back in and you realise where you are, as you snap out this trance, you hear Tylo's voice on the comms going, Tan! And you look down and you realise that you've been like plotting a course directly towards this distortion without even being aware of it.
I'm going to fire a missile at the distortion.
Okay, no problems. Make your attack roll.
Where's our stairs in this starship?
I presume you're firing one of your proton missiles.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do I roll off it?
So how do you mean?
Automated weapon.
Let me just have a quick look. Boom, boom, boom.
Proton missile.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, Okay. There is a huge explosion as this proton missile hits this spatial distortion, and for a few moments the distortion is illuminated by the explosion of the sort of like protonic matter in the warheads that has just been fired, and you briefly see almost like these tendrils of like this distortion. Then it appears to like collapse in on itself, and for a few moments nothing seems to happen. Then suddenly like everything that's around it, including yourself, gets sucked towards this distortion, which almost now looks like a sort of a rent in the fabric of space. And even though you're sort of like firing your ships on like your full throttle, you're being pulled towards this thing. What do you guys do? And you can hear like the sort of alarm sirens in the ships sort of going off as they're obviously like registering these this sort of like external force that's like acting on your ship.
Are we shooting?
Yes, we're shooting.
Okay. Do I have weapons on the bounty?
I believe so. Let me just have a quick look. Yes, you have a laser cannon.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'm shooting as well.
Okay, no problem. If you're shooting at it, make your attack roll.
Okay, so I'll use a laser rifle, I guess.
You should just be able to roll off the ship sheet.
Oh, that's correct. So starships, nope. Bounty, laser cannon. That's a 12 for 12.
Okay, yep, you fire your laser cannon into this sort of this rent that's like just collapsing in on itself, and then you see like bits of asteroid being like sucked into it and vanishing, like bits of metal are like spinning off the like really wrecked ships and just sort of like disappearing when they pass the threshold of the distortion. You fire your laser cannon into it, and again you briefly see the sort of previously invisible outline of the distortion illuminated by this laser cannon. Things are still being sucked towards it. Tyler, what are you doing?
I'm trying to get away from being sucked into it at the moment.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. So make me a dex roll. Dex check.
I got 19.
Okay, so despite your best efforts, you are slowly, the Defiant is slowly being pulled into the abyss. Okay, you estimate you've basically got like another 2 rounds before you're inside this thing. Obviously, Balan, your ship that you were just sort of getting to like working order is all because you've not fired at the engines yet, is also starting to like move towards it.
Right, and have I repaired the guns enough to fire?
I would say so, yeah. Just make me a just roll me a d20 to see if you hit, and if you do hit, it'll be 4d6 damage.
8, so I guess not.
No, you haven't. You fire the sort of laser cannons or whatever on the ship. Unfortunately, like the targeting systems haven't been like calibrated yet, so it goes a little wide. Okay, so that's the first round done. So second round, like after this round, you'll all be pretty much in this thing. So first of all, Defiant, what are you doing?
Fire the missiles.
Go for it. And obviously, all while this is going on, this strange, eerie music is continuing, but you're no longer affected by it.
It hits armor class 16, 36 damage.
Okay, as you fire another proton missile into the heart of this distortion, there is a tremendous blinding flash that imprints itself on your retina briefly, and when it clears, the spatial distortion is no more. and the alarms on your ship slightly fade away as the external force acting on it has ceased.
I think I've had just about as much fun as I'm willing to take from this place.
Yeah, maybe it's time. I'm almost finished here.
Yeah, you've pretty much got the ship that you're on, which was the blockade runner, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So you've pretty much got that good to go. I mean, you're not going to be moving rapid, but you've got it movable.
Okay, and then I suggest we haul ass and get back to the docking station for repairs.
Okay, so I'm going to make one last roll to see if anything happens while you're leaving the sector. Okay, so nothing else happens to interfere as you leave 364 Sagan. You head out of the sector, and presumably you're planning on heading back to where you met Corpacora, is that correct? The Asgardy system?
Yes.
And you start making your way back there. And as you leave the system, that is where we're going to call an end to this evening's session. I'll move the bounty over as well, so it's in roughly the same place. There we go. And you leave the 364 Sagan sector behind once again. You now have a salvaged blockade runner, and also you have Zanar, your symbiote, apparently, passenger. So obviously I'm happy to chat for a bit, guys, and we'll sort out the XP and whatnot. But for now, I'm just going to say thank you very much for playing, guys. I hope you all enjoyed the session.
Yeah, thanks, John.
And no problems. And I'm going to end the stream here. So if you're watching this, hopefully we'll catch you next time. Take care.
Bye.